Very cool. Good evening, everyone. Today is Thursday, January 23rd, 2020. This is the Board of Selectmen meeting. First up, we have a request from George Robinson to repair and reface the clock tower at the First Parish Church as an Eagle Scout project. Come on down.
We don't understand anyway.
No, you can sit. No, you sit.
No, George,
Sit.
right here.
Right in the
Oh,
middle.
I'm sitting.
Front
All
and
right.
center. Front and center. All right, stand one second.
I'm George.
Hello, George.
George.
I like the sweatshirts.
Thank you. I know.
You probably all know George better than I do, probably, but I just wanted to make sure that you know it was this Eagle project to be done this summer sometime.
Yeah.
Along with refurbishing the whole tower, so the whole steeple. So, go ahead, George. I don't need to say more.
Okay, so, as you guys know, my name is George Robertson, and this is for my Eagle Scout project. It's refacing the clocks and trying to help out fixing the mechanism on the inside of the clock to get it saying the right time. So that's what I'll do first, is work on the mechanism. What we have looked at up in the clock tower is the pendulum isn't really working, because when it swings, it only swings for an hour or so, and then it stops. And what we're going to try to do first is just clean everything out and try to make sure that it's all oiled up and stuff, because the oil we found up there was a little bit old. Yeah.
Still like George Washington's face.
Yeah, it was,
1739.
It isn't quite that bad.
it was definitely a little bit sketchy looking, but we're going to try cleaning up everything. And if there's something else that we have to do with the clock, we added into the budget a little bit of money for the a clocksmith if we have to bring one in, because if it's more serious than we thought, we don't really want to play around with it. We want to get someone who knows what they're doing.
Right.
So if all goes to plan and we get the clock working and the pendulum working, then we're going to go on to the faces. So we're going to take one face out, if you see on the almost last page, second last page. This is the phases. So we kind of had that. And so first thing we're going to do is hire a building instructor. So on the clock face, it's black paint on the back, in the background of it, and then all of the letters are gold leaf. So we were looking at gold leaf, and 24 karat is the one that we're going to choose because it's the most resistant to weather, and it won't come off as fast as the other ones. So the instructor, we added that in the budget also. But he's going to come in and he's going to teach a few of us how to gild. And then once we learn that, then we'll get this stuff and we'll take one face out first. What we're going to do with the face first, we're going to paint it black. We're going to add the background first, and then we're going to move on to the gold leaf. The gold leaf, there's going to be probably one or two other people besides me up there, because if you've ever been up there, it's a tight fit. So we'll have to be done up there, so we'll take some precautions to make sure that we can apply the gold leaf in a safe manner, because it's very delicate. So once we do that, yeah. But if you guys were wondering, if when we take out the clock face, there won't be a massive hole. There are these little, there are other clock placeholders, I don't know, but they're just pieces of wood that are fitted to the hole that would be left by the clock face.
Cool.
So then the mechanism inside, if we get it working, it won't get affected by the weather. So we'll do that to each of the faces. We'll take them out, paint them, gild them, and then put them back up. And then hopefully once we do all that, we can attach the mechanism to all the clocks, get them all working, and then
Sounds excellent.
Yeah.
Great project. Great project.
Yeah.
Nobody in the town hall happier than me, because I look out, I don't know how many times a day at the steeple, and
It's always an hour till lunch.
yeah, it's supposed to be right twice a day, but I haven't seen that yet. So I think it's wonderful.
That's
Just
great.
so you know, Don, there was a line item in the budget for years and years and years.
I know.
And
One.
that your clock winding and cleaning.
Mhm.
And that went away a number of years ago.
The cleaning went away a long time ago, the winding went away, I'm gonna guess 7 or 8 years ago.
I was gonna say 10, but.
Okay,
you're
so it could be 10, and I remember well, because I said, we've got this line item in here for clock winding, but the thing doesn't work. So, why do we, it was like $250. And so, not without some controversy, I recommended that the $250, I'm sure Selectman Sikansky was on advisory at the time, and, so that got removed back then, but I'd be thrilled to be able to have to put that back in the budget because the clock is working so well.
So it gets, will it need to be wound? Get it working once a week? Is it a once a week wind?
No, so what Bob Johnson, who has been working on the clock on and off, not very on, but I mean, no, he already has like a sort of a mechanism set up, so there's a motor, and that will automatically wind it, and there's like a pressure plate at the bottom where the weight is for the clock to be wound, so as it goes down, it hits the pressure plate, it'll send something up to the motor, that'll bring up the weight, and so what we'll mainly have to do, we'll just have to work on getting it to stop at the top, so that it doesn't keep going and hurt the clock tower.
There's already a switch at the top too.
Yeah, there's already switches. He just hasn't really tested it out that much because he wasn't sure.
Great, that's super.
Yeah,
Excellent.
so he wouldn't need anyone to wind it. Maybe someone go up and clean it every once in a while, but
Great.
the winding would be all automated.
Okay.
So when are you planning on starting the project? I see February 1st.
Yeah, so honestly, as soon as possible, probably. I mean, at least just go up there and see exactly what we need to do.
Mhm.
We went up with Bob Johnson. We looked at the mechanics and everything that we had to do. So maybe we go up there, go even more in depth into anything we need.
Stan, February 1st is very cold on that clock tower.
I was gonna say, yeah.
And
But we were thinking more, get the gilding instructors set up and maybe do the training on the gilding.
Yeah.
During February, March.
I mean, you don't have, you said it's a tight fit, you're not gonna do all the painting and cleaning of the faces up there, are you?
We might have to, because if you've ever tried to go up there, it's a little bit of a sketchy staircase.
not only that, the hatch that comes up through to where you stand and where the clocks are is very small.
Oh, so you can't get it out?
You
Yeah,
probably, it would be a very tight fit,
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
which makes it harder, but
Yeah,
your temperature sensitive.
gotcha.
Please be careful.
Yes.
Good luck to you. Too bad we're not in Florida.
It's a nice project because
It's great.
there's gonna be some mechanical work going on in there, and you're gonna be learning the craft at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be a very interesting project, and we look forward to the results.
So given the details that George gave tonight, especially having a clocksmith involved and so forth, I'm not even sure that this is necessary, but in case any of you asked any questions, we did reach out to Maya, our insurer, and ask if they had any indemnification agreements in case anything happened to the clock itself, because it's my understanding that the clock is the property of the town, not the church.
Correct.
But given the involvement, I don't know if it's gonna be necessary, but if you were concerned about it, I did have one put together. It's totally up to the board.
Just so you also understand, the Boy Scouts of America has insurance covering you. Now, whether that covers the clock, I would assume so, but I can't guarantee.
Sure.
So what is this?
It's basically a contractor's indemnification agreement that does reference the Boy Scouts. It says George Robertson / Boy Scouts of America, but Boy Scouts of America would be the ones who have the insurance, I would think. Now, obviously not George.
So it's just to indemnify the town?
To indemnify, yes, it's basically a hold harmless on us I mean, we don't have any liability if anything happens.
Okay,
But,
I guess it can't hurt.
I mean, it's totally whatever your comfort level is.
It can't hurt.
No, it can't hurt. All right, cool. So do we need to make a motion to approve the project?
Please.
Okay,
Make a motion to approve George Robertson's Eagle Scout project to repair and reface the clock tower at First Parish Church.
Second?
all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And do I have a motion to, sign the, indemnification?
I'll make a motion to sign the indemnification contract.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I can't wait for this to get started.
Yep.
Did you want to sign two so that George can take one with him?
Sure. Good.
I don't know,
No, you
do
got
you
another one
want
down there?
George's signature on that, or a Boy Scout of America, or
Maybe Boy Scouts of America would be
First
best.
Parish?
I don't think it would be First Parish Church, I think it could be Boy Scouts of America.
I'm the charter org rep for the troop,
Okay,
so I could.
All right, thank you very much. Let's get to it.
we'll just cross the name on
Yeah.
that.
I will get out of the way.
Is your father George?
No.
You want to just cross out George's name, put yours there?
Sure. Okay. And then also, one more thing I need is a project beneficiary representative. So you guys will be the beneficiaries, which just means that this is, you guys own it. So I would just need someone, just your contact information so I could send you updates. So just whatever your email is. And then I can just send you little progress reports.
That would be great. As I said, I look forward to those.
You want to be the
Thank you.
beneficiary, or does it have to be one of the selectmen?
I think it'd just be,
That's a representative,
As
the
the-
beneficiary, which is a representative.
As the agent in the town, I can.
All right, yeah, so I would move that town administrator be the town representative on this project.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay.
So does it chime? Does it chime?
So that's the,
that's the,
That would be the mystery.
that would be like a after. That wouldn't be involved in my project, but there is
Well, are there-
something in the works, because it'd be a lot more
I've heard it chime.
stuff. Yeah,
So there are chimes up there, are bells up there or something?
yeah, so there is a mechanism, but there's like an automated one that we could do.
Yeah, they can
Because
pull.
there is right now the manual ropes, one for the hammer, one for the bell.
Yeah.
That swings it, and then there's another winder.
It's just a clanger
Yeah,
on
just
the
one.
outside.
That would be for like
Tied
on the
to the
hour kind of
clock.
thing. But what Bob found was that the weight doesn't go down the shaft. When it like goes down, it doesn't, or when it comes back up, if you're winding it,
Yeah,
it doesn't go up straight.
okay,
So it kind of bumps into stuff. So it'd be a lot more,
yeah, all right,
because we'd have to rebuild the shaft that it goes up.
yeah, you have to at least consider that stuff somehow.
Which,
Yeah, that's-
Bob, it's doable, but it's not real, we'd rather have the thing working first.
Yeah.
See how
Yeah,
it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
If we have time, we'll do that. The other one was there was a complaints about having it chime all night before. So if we wanted it to chime a certain amount of time, like from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m., we'd have to put like a solenoid in there, and you know it gets a little complicated. So we decided that would be beyond his.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if we have time, we
No,
can
it's
look at it with Bob Johnson.
It's worthwhile.
I don't know, it's being in a historic district, I mean, they should, the content should chime all night long.
I'd like that.
Excuse me, but you have had complaints, or we have had complaints about the noise.
Maybe you can put a little cotton in
Oh,
there,
yeah,
so it's a
I know
little
what it is.
softer.
It'll disrupt my afternoon.
Only
nap,
Don can hear it.
Well, thank you, this is a
Thank you.
great,
Yeah,
great
Thank you very
project.
much.
Good luck to you.
Alright, thank you.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, have a nice night.
It's good.
Yes.
Pretty good, George.
Okay, next up, we have the appointment of Ron Frieswick as an alternate to the Mosquito Response Committee. This is, initially we had appointed Brooke Clenchy, and Brooke Clenchy suggested that the facilities director serve instead of her, so do I have a motion to appoint Ron Frieswick?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next is the appointment of Emily Winter to the Agricultural Commission.
So moved?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And finally, the designation of Susan Latham and Phyllis Tower as animal control officers to perform the duties described in Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 5 for the year 2020.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, next up is the town administrator report.
Just briefly on the Mass Works project, for the next 6 weeks or so, I'll just be talking about the proposed truck exclusion. Have not been invited to attend the Berlin Selectmen's meeting yet, but it will be coming up on an agenda shortly. And when the Clinton Traffic Committee meets, I'll go out and attend that meeting as well. So those are both on the horizon, just not with us yet.
Do you need an entourage?
I'll bring Joe.
Okay.
Update on the Minuteman budget. I spoke about this briefly last week, but the numbers that we have right now has the budget essentially flat year over year. Superintendent Boquillan indicated to me that it may trend downwards slightly. And next Friday, a week from tomorrow, there's a managers meeting at 8 o'clock at Minuteman, where he'll be doing an updated budget presentation to all of us. So I should have news for the first meeting in February.
So as you mentioned, I think at the Tri-Town, Minuteman's fully subscribed and there's a long waiting list.
There's a waiting list. There was a waiting list to get in this year. And right now, I was just talking with Jenny about this tonight, right now, where we were at this time last year, I think they said they had 180 new applications. And at this point now, for next year, we already have over 300 applications. So the interest is huge out there.
So it's becoming more selective, like how do they?
Yeah, they do interviews.
Or do they?
No, they'll do interviews, they don't do all of it.
Okay, so
The
it's like,
school was built for a smaller population than what was there, wasn't it?
It was, knowing that there were gonna be member communities withdrawing.
Right.
But there was a large a vocal contingent of people who said we should build it for the mid-400s.
Right.
And we built it for over 7.
Right.
And we were, in some areas, we were pretty heavily criticized, the building committee, for doing that, but we believed that what is happening would happen.
that's great.
Update on possible third school committee rep. At the last meeting, the board voted unanimously to have a memo sent to the school district requesting that on the January 15th agenda, topic be placed on there to begin the process for this third school committee rep. The chair declined to do that, citing a busy agenda. I was at that meeting and she said it would be on next week's agenda. So I will be, I plan on attending that meeting and hope to get the process started. This particular one should only be about 5 minutes just to get it started.
Stan, it's in the parking lot.
Ah, thank you.
Yeah.
Must have fallen out of my package. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Next, discussion on town hall hours. One of the things that had been, what's on my goals is to look at town hall hours and how we might approach them, if we could approach them differently. Two things have taken place. One is, well, there's a lot that's taken place. The result of which is the proposal, or the plan, I should say, but we'll call it a proposal, is that with the exception of the building inspector, that the town hall will not be open on Tuesday nights. With the hiring of the new assessor's clerk, she will be in the office from 7:30 to 3:30, Monday through Thursday, which is somewhat later hours than what we'd had before. Plus, there'll be someone there, the person from RRG, Dave Manzello, will be there until 4 o'clock on Tuesdays. That would leave the town clerk's office as the only office still open. And we've made so many improvements in automating things and getting things up online that the experience of folks have been for quite some time. We got 0 to 3 people in on Tuesday nights. And we can get, as I said, with the advent of Viewpoint and everything that can be done on Viewpoint, and we're expanding even more with the ability to pay bills online, tax bills online and so forth. We've certainly had a decrease in foot traffic. So, and from a safety perspective, and this is not the main reason, but from a safety perspective, having one person here, made me uncomfortable, the thought of that. So what we propose to do is to have an actual drop box out front, weatherproof drop box where people can drop in forms or payments or anything like that, so it's not just things being dropped through the mail slot such as it is now. And Pam has already done this, Pam has already offered this and will continue to do it, as will other town hall staff. If somebody specifically needs something, they can schedule an appointment and Pam will come in and take care of it, or if it's one of the other employees, we can work something out to take care of that. Pam has her office phone forwarded to her cell phone on Tuesday nights. So if anybody needs anything, she would be willing to come right down and take care of it, or if we need to schedule for another night. But we've really professionalized things to the point where I'm pretty comfortable doing it, actually very comfortable doing it. And we'll track, we'll see if there are a lot of calls coming in and whatnot, and if we need to make an adjustment, we can always make an adjustment. But for now, I think it's a very sound recommendation.
Sounds good.
So I highly recommend that.
What size of home?
Oh, yes, we will.
Yep, good.
And finally, this is not on the agenda, we just got this today, actually. I told you some weeks ago that I asked Rebecca to lead the effort to pursue a municipal vulnerability program grant, or an MVP grant, which would, the first award would be to hire a consultant to review issues in the town, opportunities to pursue grant money, whether it's with culverts, whether, to deal with storm, increased storm situations, that type of thing. We have been invited to attend an announcement on the awards for the 2020 MVP Planning and Action Grants, Wednesday, February 5th at 3 p.m. in New Bedford. So Rebecca and I will be attending that. I'm not saying we're getting a grant, but we're being asked to attend the grant award ceremony. So, I'm starting to like our chances. And there is a list of pre-approved consultants that if we were lucky enough to get an award, that we would pick from and get the work started on that. And then, we can pursue other grant money once we've got the plan put together. So Rebecca did a really, really nice job driving this one. I can't thank her enough. And unless the board has any questions, that's all I have.
All right, up next is Board of Selectmen business. Do we have any public service announcements this evening?
No.
Okay. Well, since we just had the Boy Scouts in for the Eagle Project, just want to remind everybody about the funding. The main area of funding for the Boy Scouts is the deposit bottles and cans that the residents collect and drop off at the little red barn that's at the crest of the hill when coming into the town transfer station. So we would appreciate that you just make a separate bag and keep those there, and when you drop off your trash and other stuff at the transfer station, if you could just drop those things off to the Boy Scouts, they would be much appreciative of that. The other public service announcement is that I am planning on running again for selectman. I'm asking the residents and the townspeople of Bolton to hopefully put their faith once again in me for another 3 years. And at the job, I think we've done a lot of good stuff, and there's a lot more that needs to be done, so I will be running again for selectman. Okay, that's all I got. Next up is a proposal to pursue ALS. Chief Lozano, why don't you come on down?
Good evening.
How are you?
Good yourself.
Good.
So there is a lot of information that's been collected over the past month or so. We don't have time to go over that this evening, but I prepared
Oh,
a
thank you.
document that you can peruse at the your time.
Great.
That's the same.
I have it.
You might have that with the supplementals that you have.
How come Jonathan got the red one?
I ran out of binders, I'm sorry. I was just here.
Wow.
So, so I'll give you a brief overview of what we're doing.
Just, Stan mentioned ALS, but I'm not sure people who are watching would catch up on that. Please include that with your introduction.
Absolutely. So we are talking ALS, which stands for Advanced Life Support Care. Currently, the town of Bolton services a basic or EMT level ambulance service. We would be looking to move to the paramedic level, which would increase care to our patients rapidly with advanced cardiac procedures, use of the cardiac monitor, various medications to enhance our service. Currently, we are using outside agencies, private agencies. I'm sure as you're aware, in December, we were given 48 hours notice from our provider, Woods Ambulance, that they reallocated their resources back up to Gardner, thus increasing the time for an advanced procedure, advanced provider to service our town. Moving forward, I'm looking at a fly car, and what a fly car is would be, we currently own a Chevy Tahoe that can be outfitted with all of the required equipment to provide a paramedic to the scene. In the fly car model, it's easier, more effective to service ourselves, and if this does go to Lancaster, because obviously they're in the same position we are to provide care over there, we still maintain our current ambulance to provide medical care to our patients in town. So that's why going with that model seems to be more efficient, and I think better served in the system we have.
And just so that, if you could explain to the selectmen that the fly car is not a transport vehicle.
Correct. So it is what we call a non-transport or a Class 5 ambulance. To give you reference, 7A of the ambulance that's over at the fire station would be considered a Class 1 ambulance. That is to transport the patient to a emergency facility. The Class 5 is meant to get the staff to the medical, not transport the patient, and then the paramedic would go onto the ambulance, much as we do currently, just with our own staff. So included is kind of a breakdown of what each level of care is provided, and kind of give you just a broad overview of the skills that would be at each level. I did want to point out, when you look at the EMT basic, the administration of Narcan, glucagon, albuterol, and Atrovent is not in the basic program. That is add-ons that we work with our medical control director to add to our staff. So we've steadily been adding skills as they come out and available to the BLS provider. So we're making sure we provide the best care we can.
Cool.
The next is just a description of a single tier and a two-tier system. The two-tier is what we're going to be in. Currently, we are a two-tier system because we rely on an outside vendor to provide our paramedics. And just kind of an explanation there.
Cool.
This next, probably 8 pages here, is kind of day one from being notified that our closest asset was moving and collecting some raw data and moving forward. And then we move into the next section. Here's where and one of my main reasons for being here this evening. I have been in contact with the Office of Emergency Medical Services, or OEMS. They are located in Marlborough. The first step in this process would be a letter of support from the Board of Selectmen to enhance our service or upgrade our service from a basic life support service to a paramedic or advanced life support ALS system. So this would just be a sample letter that would need to be signed by the board, much as like the letter When we merged just recently, the letter that you sent, this would just be upgrading our service instead of merging.
So would that need to be signed by the chair or the entire board?
That was unclear as to, it needed to be supported by the Board of Selectmen. They did not specify one or the full board.
So if the board were to take a formal vote and authorize the chair to do it, that would probably be sufficient.
That would be my understanding as well. So OEMS, obviously, we're getting into medications and storage of medications, so we would have to enhance our license to include a controlled substance. So this is part of the packet to go to OEMS. I just wanted to give you a copy of everything going through. And the second point of my meeting this evening is in the next section. This is a survey of many area towns in the charges they bill out for their ambulance service. The last time Bolton Ambulance Squad set rates was in November of 2016. So looking at the area towns, and this is being 2018, I believe it is time to upgrade and review our fees. So that will give you an idea. And again, there's a couple fee structures. If you'll look at, say, the town of West Boylston on that one, where it says included in the base rate, that is known as the bundle bill. So instead of piecemealing a bill for cervical collar or defibrillation, it is a one bill out, one flat rate that goes out to everybody. Talking with Coastal multiple times, they have suggested going to the bundle bill because it is more effective when collecting, and there's less chance of an item being missed that we may have used. So it's just a flat rate to go out, and the returns were better. So the very next sheet of paper, you'll see our current rates on the top. And again, as I said, the add-on fees, some of which include oxygen, cervical collar, and there are a multitude of other procedures that would be billed out. From the rates and from our current rates to the rates that were reflected in the previous paper, I am suggesting and would be moving to the fee structure bundled as proposed at the bottom of that paper. The one you have right there.
So I've never used an ambulance, so who pays that? Is it people's insurance?
Insurance.
Insurance.
Yep. And obviously there are, in the next, we'll show our revenues for 16, 17, 18, and 19. I do want to take a moment to explain this. You'll see at the revenue, right next to that is BLS, then you have ALS, ALS2, total, and Medicare. So BLS would be only a EMT is needed to provide care at that level. ALS1 or ALS is you needed a paramedic. ALS2 is the next tier up. That would be a pretty intricate call and a small piece of the overall call volume of a department. There are certain triggers that send it to the ALS2, replacement of an advanced airway, fibrillation, 2 or more medications through the IV. So if you run if there is such a thing, let's just say a chest pain call, you get an IV, some nitroglycerin, an EKG, that would be an ALS1. If that person required, because they had an arrhythmia such as a rapid heart rate, it required 2 or more medications before to regulate that heart rate, now that bounces up to ALS2. Okay. And the Medicare is what it was collected of the total, was total Medicare. Medicare set the rates for 2020. That's not included because I received it at 5:30 this evening via email, but I can provide that to update the fee. Medicare does set a ceiling as to what is billed and what is collected. So if we go to the very next sheet, and I know there's a lot on here, it'll kind of give you a play as to what we're collecting. Some of it is estimated at our current rates, the proposed rates, the addition of payments from mutual aid transports, and then if we look to the bottom right-hand corner, that would be the breakdown. These are actual numbers. We had, in 2019, we had 106 BLS transports, 80 ALS ones, and it is estimated to be 10 ALS twos. The mileage and ALS mutual aid is figured in there. So the bottom numbers are what we expect the first year of the program to run, and the excess over that.
And the front money would come from the ambulance receipts, and with the revenue that would be generated, that money could be replenished by the end of the fiscal year, by the end of FY '21.
Okay. In the very last section, just to tie this all up, this is what I'm looking at, is the breakdown for the ALS, or the Advanced Life Supports, getting that paramedic truck up and going. New equipment would be that is required. And again, if you flip to the back, that is the OEMS paperwork that is the required equipment list. You will notice there is a quote here, and that is the most expensive piece of equipment that will have to be bought, is the cardiac monitor. They're ranging right around that number. The vehicle would be upgrades of some lighting, some radios on the current vehicle. Supplies is the replenishment of supplies that we use on calls. The salary would be one paramedic, 12 hours a day, 365 days a year. And then we would cover the off hours with a backup agreement, which Sterling Fire has agreed to sit and discuss our current agreement with them for ALS provider to an ALS backup, because that would be required through OEMS as well. So we already have that in place. Once I meet with Chief Herbert, there's some work to do, but I have entered into discussion with him about moving forward. The ALS license, controlled substance license, and possibly of uniforms and training. So that is the breakdown of our project and where we are now. You said this, that just skims what is in here, so please, if there's any questions.
Yeah, this is a big change in, I guess, the education or the skill level. How are you currently, what's the profile of the ambulance squad now in terms of paramedics and EMTs?
Okay. Currently, there are 5 paramedics on staff. We do have 32 EMT basics. I know of 2 other residents that work in busy systems in the area, and residents of Bolton that have approached me about getting on participating in this paramedic program. So we'd be up to 7. And then moving on from there to cover, my plan is to hire per diem paramedics in to cover the rest of the shifts as need be. Now, I say this will be covered 12 hours a day. We need to show a progression starting at 8 hours that we're going to cover eventually 24 hours of coverage. How we get there, there's a couple different ways. We can at first start the way we have it now, covering the 12 hours, and then the members that live in town, which will remain at 4, if there is a call in the off hours, can come and take that vehicle and provide ALS. So we're showing a progression up to that 24 hours. Right. And eventually, maybe we'll be at 24 hours coverage in the station. But that is not today, and is not tomorrow. It's a building block for the future.
Okay, so
What's the timeline for that? Like, what are their expectations?
My expectation, in talking with the state, and it's not out of their expectation, is July 1.
In terms of getting to 24 hours.
Oh, 24? If we're doing the coverage, 24 with on-call personnel, I would say within 2 to 3 years, because we're going to have to build in, depending on the returns. Typically, you would pay somebody to cover the paramedic truck. That is not built into the budget right now. I think we need to see what the returns are going to be and then move from there. Currently, we have money built into the budget to pay outside vendors. So we also have to take into account that budget, while we can't totally defund it is gonna drastically, need to be used, because we're providing our own care. Instead of paying out, we're taking it in.
Okay, but you're not starting this from scratch, I guess, was the significant thing. You already have several people on staff who can
Correct.
start
Yep.
staffing this from day
Yes.
one.
Yep.
And for the 12-hour shift, that would be a some kind of day shift.
That would be a day shift. I'm still studying when the highest peak of our calls are. Currently, it appears we're actually busier from like 1 to 4 in the afternoon for ambulance calls. But I want to trend that out a little bit more. And But thinking of our call staff, we want to cover from, say, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. to allow even our call staff to be back in town from out-of-town jobs, and then they're back in, and we can use them after that. So I'm not sure if it's going to be 7 to 7, 8 to 8. I want to watch the trend right now, or even 6 to 6. So, but it is within that window of 2 hours, 6 to 8 a.m. to 6 to 8 p.m.
So what other towns were using the Lancaster service?
The Woods.
Woods.
Yep. So they serviced Harvard, Lancaster, parts of Berlin, the prison, Shirley, and then they would do transfers. They were not dedicated to us. If they happen to be in the area, not doing a non-emergency transport, then we'd get them. This is a dedicated ALS service. It's an extension. It is the fire department. It is fire EMS here. It is not a private vendor. That's the biggest difference. We're not going to be doing a transport from Gardner to Cape Cod. We're going to be in the area.
So how about the prison at Shirley? How do we respond to those
I have
calls, like the recent one?
discussed that with Chief Hansen. It continues to go on that while I cannot eliminate that just as yet, I have expressed that I prefer not to go to the prison based on the number of times and the time it takes to make that transport, because I want to make this service primarily available for Bolton.
Right.
If we can help our neighbors as a regional resource, that's great. But it is for this service.
And that may be more achievable later on.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because we're still averaging between the 3 towns, if we will, that were affected by this. We're looking at 3 to 5 calls a day is the average. We're not overtaxing that system yet. And would I be foolhardy to believe that the town of Berlin or Stowe or Hudson is not going to call? They probably will. That's not figured into this yet, but
Don, is there regionalization support, from the state? The state's interested in regionalization.
Well, the state's definitely interested in regionalization, and there are some funds that the chief is looking at that we could be eligible for. There's no guarantees, but definitely eligible for it. If I could, I'd just like to make an observation or two. The chief's ability to be able to come back and evaluate this need based on events that were beyond our control, we couldn't have done this 2 years ago without a full-time chief. And it's this board sitting right here, the 3 of you, who saw the value in hiring our first full-time chief. And so Chief Legendre not only has taken the ball and run with it, but it is to his credit that he's showing this type of initiative. And I just want to say, with him sitting here in front of you, that I think we're very lucky to have him as our fire chief.
I would agree. I had an opportunity to go over this material yesterday afternoon with Don and Brian Boyle of the Finance Committee. And we went over the numbers and the support and the costs and the income, and just based on the current run rate, of historical run rate, this project will pay for itself.
Absolutely.
In a year.
Yeah.
And the other significant part of that is not at all dependent on sharing this resource with the other town. That is not, sharing this resource with other towns is not really part of the business model in terms of making this work. It's something we'd like to do if the resources are available, but this will pretty much be able to stand on its own.
Mhm.
Just with the resources and the demands upon it in Bolton.
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, thank you very much for coming up with
That's
this.
fabulous.
You showed a lot of initiative and you put a lot of work into it, just to make sure that it was something worth pursuing. So we appreciate that.
And I'll just, if I could, so we did explore other avenues of getting a dedicated outside vendor to come in, and we were loosely quoted, nothing in paper, to run the fly car system that we're talking about. That company's looking to recover between $500,000 and $700,000 a year. If they want to staff an ambulance, a class 1, they're looking at $1 million a year. So that's when that decision went this way.
Right.
We can provide it.
Right.
We have staff. We have very experienced staff in-house, inclusive of a doctor that's a paramedic, inclusive of a paramedic that is also a nurse and a flight paramedic for UMass. So we have a highly qualified staff that I'm very fortunate to have in moving forward with this project. We have support from UMass. Our current medical director, Dr. John Broach, met with him last night. He is fully on board with this project and moving forward with the current setup and all the materials that you will review and you had the chance to review out here. So that would be my parting thought on this. So I would ask for your support in letter to OEMS, and again, we're going to adjust those rates with our provider effective February 1. So just wanted to make everybody aware of that as well. And that's all I have, gentlemen.
So with the board's vote, Jenny will take the letter and put it on Selectmen's letterhead, and once it's available, we'll ask Stan to come in and sign it and get it back to the chief.
Okay, so I move that we send a letter to OEMS supporting the effort to establish ALS medical service in Bolton.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much, John.
Thank
Do
you.
you need to authorize Stan to sign it?
Thank you.
Was that part of the motion?
No.
Then please amend the motion.
Why don't you amend your motion?
I'll just make a separate motion,
Okay.
authorize the chairman to sign the letter to OEMS on behalf of the Board of Selectmen.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Great. Thank you, Jeff, very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's great, fabulous.
I'm going to start this.
Next up is to appoint the town administrator to act as liaison to the school district and the school committee. Do you want to give a little background for everybody, or
Just do it.
I'll be happy to, or just you just want to?
Why don't we just
Okay.
do it?
That's it.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
No,
I will second it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay,
would you like to ask for those opposed?
those opposed?
Aye.
Okay.
Nay.
Okay. Minuteman budget update?
We already did that under my report.
Alrighty. And we need to approve the bills and the payroll warrants, W 2015 and W 2015A.
So moved?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And do we have any minutes?
We do not.
Do not. Okay.
I'll check on those.
I think you made a slight typo that you said that you wanted them by January 24th. I thought you probably wanted them by,
Well, the 24th was 10 days from when I sent them,
okay,
so that's when I wanted them back.
okay,
And then,
Okay.
once I have
All right.
everybody's comments, then
Okay.
I'll prepare them.
Oh,
I do
okay.
have them
So-
prepared, but
all right. So I believe I have sent my comments in.
I need to get on.
All right.
You have one more day.
You have one more day.
Phew.
All right,
Do that tomorrow morning.
okay.
Find an hourglass emoji and text it to you.
Next up, we have an executive session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining with the Teamster Union, Local 170, if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigation position of the Board of Selectmen, and the Chair so declares, the Board will return to open session.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Roll call, Sikansky,
Aye.
Keith,
Aye.
Waisaki.
Aye.